to Real Estate Uncensored. We have a great guest with us today. We brought back Chris Naugle. We are talking about, do the rich get richer? And spoiler alert, they do. But the question is, can you actually emulate what they're doing that's going to get you richer too over the course of the next 6 months? And we're going to talk about why the rich get richer, with both the good and the bad, because I think this is going to be a fun conversation to get into. So we'll bring Chris in a second. But first, my illustrious, esteemed colleague, the Junior Grandmasters in the co-pilot seat, Greg McDaniel. What's up with you today?
You forgot handsome and intelligent, Matt. We've talked about this pre-show. We practiced so many times. Fuck you. Yes, you did. Now this is going to be a great show. I've had Chris, guys. You remember Chris coming on about a month ago, right?
2 months ago, yeah.
2 months ago. Well, I actually did an interview with Chris for Inman News, which we're going to have to reshoot because I was having the world's worst internet day ever. It was horrible. But the knowledge bombs he dropped, because he already has one book out, the Private Money Guide, and he has another book out that he's going to talk about. But it's just, I really want you to lock in your brains, because what you're going to actually learn here is something you probably haven't heard of. If you have heard of it before, it's insanity. You've been lied to your entire life. You just don't know it. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, you're going to crush it. Bald Ninja, the evil Bald Ninja. What is that, brother?
What up, Playboy? How you living?
Speaking of handsome devil, what's up, man?
That's great. Matt Johnson always coming with the knowledge. That was pretty good. How you guys making out today? I love Fridays.
Oh, it's good, man. We watched a very dumb video that you decided to show us, and don't repeat the name of it pre-show, and we have all kind of had that look on our face. We're like, what are we watching?
Yeah, I mean, just FYI to anyone watching and or listening, I swear between the four of us, we lost a combined 1,000 brain cells. Just
at least, I think
at least, at least. So if we screw up, or if we just freeze up and fall off of our chairs at some point, that would be why. So, but let's officially welcome in Chris Naugle, the host of Real Estate Money School and the author of all the books that Greg just mentioned. What's up today?
Not much. Glad to be here. I definitely do feel a little bit more intelligent now that we've started after watching that video.
Yes, it's like you got to kick it. It's like a motorcycle. When it dies, you got to kick it. You got to kick it again and get it started. Yeah, that's what we got to do with our brains right now.
We're running again here.
Oh goodness! All right.
I really don't think it's fair that you're leaving that to the people's imagination. I mean, you're talking about this video.
It's very fair. Believe me, we're improving people's lives by not referencing that video.
Yeah. I think the only part of that video we could talk about are the kitty cats.
Yeah.
Yes. The tiger. Yes.
Exactly. Oh my God. All right. Let's start with this. We'll get so Chris, for those that don't know you or maybe lived under a rock and didn't catch your last episode, just give us the bullet point version, who you are, where you are, what you do. And then I've got a question for you.
Sure. Just a ex-pro snowboarder, ex-TV show guy that flipped a lot of houses from Buffalo, New York, commonly known as America's #1 money mentor. And I solve your money problem. Here's your sign.
Here's your sign.
Here's your sign.
All right. Love it. All right. So let's talk about investing just for a quick hot second. If you were forced at gunpoint, because I know it's not where you would necessarily put your money right now, but let's say you were forced at gunpoint to put your money into the stock market right now, what is one sector that you think is just in trouble? You wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. You wouldn't put any money there. Something bad's about to happen. Any particular sector jump out to you?
Yeah, it already happened. It's called retail.
You mean as the juggernaut that is Amazon continues to make billions in profits? Yeah.
That would be the one. Main retail stores, your brick and mortars, I would run. And that's just one little thing. I mean, you'd have a hard time getting me to put money into regular stocks right now, period.
Hey, quick question. There was something that came up, Greg, we talked about this with our guest last week on the show, and she mentioned zoning changes. There's going to be a lot of zoning changes. And wouldn't you know it, right on cue, California is attempting to push something through the legislature that would essentially eliminate single family zoning, right? Which would, yes. So if you think that through for a second, that means you can do a whole bunch of mixed use stuff in single family residential areas that were once reserved for just, single family homes. All of a sudden, theoretically, you can build mixed use, or which is what I think they're going for, homeless and homeless housing, low income housing, stuff like that. But what could possibly go wrong with building more low income housing and homeless housing right smack in the middle of single family residential neighborhoods? You think that's how do you think that would shake out, Chris?
How do I think that would shake out? Come to New York and I'll show you exactly how that shakes out. You just take a visit and you'll see a little thing or two about what happened with that. It'll basically become just, I got to be careful how I say this, but it'll become another welfare state, where you're taking away the reason why people want to live in a certain area. And now all of a sudden you're basically forcing this into it. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a need for low income housing, but there's a place for that. You can't take, regular neighborhoods that are single family homes and all of a sudden just say, hey, we're going to put in multifamilies all around you. It's going to destroy the value of the properties around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. This is how I would qualify that. That's to Matt's comment right there. Dumpster fire 2020.
Well, believe me, California is making its best efforts to turn California even more of a dumpster fire than it already is. So they're valiant. They're valiant up there. They're fighting the good fight.
I was there last year. I couldn't believe what I saw. Just walking down the streets, and I've been there many times, and I'm just like, what happened here? And that's all I'm going to say.
Lots of ideas, but you know what? It just is a lot of. I think it happened in anybody's state, anybody's financial, history or future. It's just that first step, right? Not a big deal. Then we take another one. Not a big deal. Then you look back at your path and you're like, holy shit, like look at all the bad decisions we made. And it's just one little thing at a time. I think that's what happens to a lot of us on our business, marriages, friendships, financial stuff. It's just that one little step. So Chris, how can people stop taking that one little step and let's make some wealth? Let's talk some money. Let's put some money in each other's pockets without it being government funded.
Sure. It's simple. I mean, really, the route to success and the route to building wealth really starts with taking back the money that you're giving away to everybody else. I mean, a lot of people, when they think about making and building wealth, they go back to what they've been taught their whole life. And that is going out and working harder, working longer, doing the hustle to make more money. Now, that's a piece of it. I'm not saying I'm not taking anything away from the hustle, but wouldn't it just be smarter, instead of focusing all your time and energy on working harder to make more money, on how about just taking back the money that you give away to everybody else every month? I mean, think of like the average person. If they went through and created just a budget, novel idea, it's not hard. Income on one side, all your expenses and your debts on the other side. And you looked at where your money went. What you will find is most people, 90% of every penny they make goes out the door to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that's credit cards, debts, car payments, all these things. But if we wanted to build wealth, wouldn't it make more sense to literally go there and say, how do I take back the money that I'm giving away to everybody else? And, when I tell people that, they're like, that's impossible. No, actually, it's not impossible. It's actually very simple to do. You just got to change one thing. You got to change one thing in what you do. And that's the one thing that's the hardest thing to do. So I don't know if you want me to just roll right into it, but I mean, the other thing too is, what I'm saying is not something that I pioneered. It's something that I learned by watching what wealthy people do. You asked about that earlier. Are wealthy people going to get richer and wealthier during this economic time, this economic crash that we're about to see? The answer is 100%. They always do. The wealthy get wealthier during hard times because they're prepared and they know exactly what to do because they're in control of their money. So back to that one thing you got to change. That's what you got to change. You got to change where your money goes first, and you got to put yourself in control of it. You see, we've been taught our whole lives to give up control of our good dollars today. We've been taught to put our money in other people's control. And then what do? Well, they go make money. And who am I talking about? Well, how about financial institutions? How about banks? We put our money in both of these two institutions, not even thinking about it. And what do? They go out and make more money. Heck, some of them actually charge us to give them our money, which is bizarre. Because if you think about your money today, your dollars are worth the most right now. Because tomorrow your dollars are worth less. God forbid the government keeps this printing, press going like they are. Your dollars will become worth almost nothing. They're already fiat dollars, not even worth anything except for we say that they're worth something, or the government says it is. So if your dollars are worth the most today, why are you putting all your money in retirement plans when you're buried in debt? Why are you putting all your money in the stock market when you're buried in debt? Why don't we just take that and change where it goes and pay off debt? And then, a lot of people just stop there like, all right, I paid my debt off. Now what? No. Pay your debt off slowly, pay your credit cards down, and then take whatever money you were giving the credit card company and then deposit that back in your accounts. So that's the simplest philosophy. And if you just focused on doing that, you would slowly start to take back the money you're giving away to everybody else. But then the problem is people don't know how to keep their money moving. They don't know how to keep their money in their control. And that's because they put their money right back in the same place it came from the first time. And that's the banks. What are the banks paying today? 1%? Less than 1%? How about 0? Heck, pretty soon, if the government goes into this negative interest rate territory, it will cost us money to keep our money at banks. How does that sound? You deposit your money at the bank and the bank charges you for having it there.
Yeah. It's insane.
It is insane. And it's so easy to change the dynamic of this entire thing, which I'm sure we're going to kind of flush that out. But like, that's what we've been taught to do. That's all we've been taught to do. So nobody is wrong for doing what they're doing. It's simply you've been taught and lied to your whole life about how money really works.
That's really, every time I hear you, talk, every time I do an interview with you, my blood starts to boil because it's so infuriating because they're like, we want to help everybody, both sides, the Dems and the Republicans. Everyone wants to help everybody. But yet nobody ever teaches the secret. Because guess what? There's no money in it.
That's exactly why. I mean, what I do and what I teach, America, there is no money in it. And that's the hardest thing. Like when I set off on this thing, I had to find a way to monetize it, but there's no monetization in the first phase. And if there is, it's very small. So you make money 3 layers deep, but it takes a lot of time to make money with that. So the average person that would teach what I teach won't, because they can't make any money doing it, or they have to take a 60 to 90% cut in what they make just to do what we do. And that's the fact of the matter is follow the dollar.
Yeah.
So stupid question here. Do you think, I just wonder about this a lot. Like, I don't, maybe it's changed because I've been out of school for 134 years, but I mean, I don't remember any kind of economics really taught, like real world economics, how to balance a checkbook. Like, I still don't balance a checkbook the right way. Like, if you saw what I did, you'd be like, how do you keep track of that? Do you think that that's an institutionalized thing where they keep that out of school on purpose? Or do you think that, like, why would it be that we're not teaching 16 and 17-year-olds how to manage money? Is there a purpose behind that?
Of course there is. You can't teach people this stuff when they're in school and then actually allow them to go out and think for themselves and create. No, you need them to conform. Let me take that question is such a valid question. Of course, it's by design that they don't teach this. They teach us how to be employees. Think about everything from grade school to middle school to high school to college. What are they teaching you to do? An employee. They're teaching you how to be an employee and how to be a good steward of that employer. That's what they're teaching you to do. I get a lot of people that hate on me because I say that, but you know what? It's the damn truth. Look at it. Look how it works. And it's the same reason why, and I'm going to give you some statistics. If you went around, you interviewed 125-year-olds and you asked them this one simple question. You said, are you going to be financially successful by the time you're 65? What would their answer be? They wouldn't even think. It would be like, absolutely, yes, no question. And you know what? All things considered, they're absolutely right. They will be successful because that's what they think they're going to be. But then as life goes on, as they get kicked around, they get beat up, they get kicked to the ground, and they don't want to get back up, what happens? Well, they start to conform. They start to conform with what everything else that everybody around them and everything else is doing. And they do. They do exactly that. So when you conform, you just follow the leader, which means that brings you to the end result, which is age 65, the statistics. This is Social Security Administration. The statistics are this. Only 5 out of those 125-year-olds will be financially successful. The rest, the other 95, will not be financially secure at the age of 65. Like, what happened there? Like, was it school? Was it a problem? It was they conformed. Only the 5 were the ones that went out and created. Because if you stop creating, what are you living for? And I bet you if you took that one layer deeper and you started to ask people, why do you go to work? Like, let's just say you went up just a stranger on the street that's going to work and you said, why do you go to work? I bet you most of them would say, I don't know. Or most of them would say, because I have to. Man, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You choose to do that. You choose to want to or to have to go to work. You know what? The people that are successful, they don't go to work because they have to. They go to work because they choose to, because they're creating something and they're working toward their perfect day. You see, they have an end goal. They know what their perfect day looks like and they know what it's going to take to get there. People that conform, they're just like wandering around. It's like a bunch of zombies wandering around, not having purpose in why they do what they do. Creation is the most powerful thing. And the problem with conforming is you stop thinking. You stop dreaming. You stop realizing that you can do anything you want because you just have accepted that you just have to conform with the normal. Look at politics. You want to take what I'm just saying and like put it into perspective. Look at what the fuck is going on right now with politics. If that's not conforming, then I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry about the language.
Well, we don't really give a fuck. It's okay.
Can I piggyback on that? I don't want to take over the show, but he's got me thinking about some things, right? and this might take it down a different road because I feel like we could do 5 shows off this next question.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no real answer, right? But I'm going through this right now. So we go back to the kids in school thing. I would argue that being an employee is not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Entrepreneurs need employees. That's how big businesses are built, right? So like, I don't want it to come off like we're talking about if you're an employee, you're a drone. Like there's people that do not like, I feel like it's right brain, left brain thing. If you're creative and you have that crazy cowboy mentality, you can be an entrepreneur. Some people are just comfortable going to work and saving the money that way, right? Where I want to get to is this. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I know as an entrepreneur and who's actually served in the real world, right? Like as my wife calls, not my fantasy land where I'm having lunches all the time with people, but I've actually worked for Verizon as a manager. And I now know that she's going into sophomore, junior years of high school, having no idea how to handle money because I watch it on a regular basis. Right. And then the argument comes up, do I have to go to college? And my wife is a doctor. So clearly she went to college. I am not a doctor and I did not go to college. So I always say to them, well, I don't really say it, but I say, whose life would you rather have? Daddy's or mommy's? And I know what the answer is because I'm the one they think that doesn't do anything, right? So it's always like, well, I want to be daddy's, drinking beer and going to lunch. Like it's cool. But I guess to wrap this around again, my question is, what's the right move, dude? I mean, like, and maybe I'm asking for parenting advice and I don't know if you can give it, right? Like, what's the move there? How do you make sure that these kids, is there a tool in place that I could put in front of my 15-year-old to help her understand this a little bit better? Because she's not going to get it in school and make it understand what an entrepreneur versus an employee is and what makes you like. Any advice on that? I know that was a wide open question.
No, that's okay. It's a very good one. And first and foremost, there is a lot of merit in people working for other people. That has to happen. And there's a lot of people that are very happy with this. I think I should have reframed that and said, it's not so much about being self-employed or being an employee. It's about actually loving what you do and going to work and creating something. I don't care if that's creating something for your employer or that. So back to your kids. What do I think? You know, I have a 3-month-old and I think about this all the time. How do I prepare her for this crazy world we live in? And I think it's that. I think it's planting the seed that in her life, right? You know, when kids are young, they can dream, they think about things. They're always thinking of new ideas and nothing's impossible, right? They're in their minds, there is no barriers until they get older when they're told they can't do something. So I think the biggest thing is to keep them dreaming, keep them believing that the things that they dream about should be written down on paper, should be, you know, illustrated. If they can't draw, tell them to cut pictures out and stare at them every day and never stop talking about what they want. The second thing is then tell them how to take those ideas and those dreams and create something. You know, I hate the fact that we don't see lemonade stands out there anymore. Now, I know there's reasons, but like, think about like what that does for a child. You show a child how to go out and create a little stand in their front yard selling lemonade or cookies or whatever. You literally just showed them the path of creation and the path of being self-employed. Whether or not they work for somebody else, they created that. And think of the joy that they get out of selling 1 cup of their created lemonade they did or their created cookie. So I think the biggest thing you can do for children is never, ever tell them they shouldn't create or never block them from their dreams in creating what they are. And also never tell them they can't do something. Like I grew up with nothing. And you know what my mom never, ever, ever did once is tell me I couldn't do something. Even if in her mind, she was like, oh, that's a crazy idea. Holy shit. You're going to go dig a pond in the backyard. But you know what I did? I couldn't dig a pond. I went out in the backyard for weeks and I dug holes thinking I was going to have this giant pond stocked with fish that I would go out there and fish. And you know what ended up happening? I want you to really take that. Now, as a little kid, I was like 5 or 6. What do you think ended up happening from that? I dug a pond, and the pond was about, you know, I don't know. It wasn't a pond. But when I dug that pond and I filled it up with the hose, I went down the street, I caught a fish, a sunfish, and I put that sunfish in there. And I sat out there for hours with a fishing pole thinking that I was going to catch this sunfish. I was dreaming, folks. That's all I was doing. It's so stupid. My mom's laughing at me. But you know what? She didn't tell me, Chris, you're never going to catch that fish. Like that pond's going to dry up in a week. But I still created it. And I realized that my dream became a reality. Everything in my life has been that. So I want my kids to realize that there is no restrictions, that if you think of something and you can dream it, it actually can be real because it really is a law and there's nothing stopping that. So teach them that. And then, with money, teach them to be the biggest thing with money is teach them to be in control of their money. Teach them never to give up control and show them very simple ways to do budgeting and how to be in control of their money and how to be a good steward of moving their money. The biggest thing I'm going to teach my daughter is when she gets money, honey, don't put that money in the piggy bank and let it sit there, because that's like putting your money in a stagnant pond. And I'm going to walk her out and I'm going to show her a stagnant pond and I'm going to have her smell it. And I'm going to say, you want to eat fish out of that? Exactly. You wouldn't want to eat those fish. But then I'm going to show her a raging stream and I'm going to say, you want to eat fish out of that? That's beautiful. Isn't it? The sound, just the smell, it's moving, it's alive. Your money needs to move. So if you put your money in your piggy bank and you don't do anything, so I'm probably going to take the piggy bank and I'm going to break it. And I'm going to say, that's not what money does. And then I'm going to have her pick that money up and I'm going to say, what are we going to do with that money to make more of that money? And now maybe it's a lemonade stand. Maybe it's make cookies. Maybe we buy an ad on Facebook to promote something she's created because I didn't stop her from dreaming it. I'm going down a tangent, but you see what I'm saying? Don't let them believe that parking their money and letting it sit is what money does. And don't let them think money's evil. Have them talk about money. When they're talking to their friends, have them talk about money and what it does and the beauty that it can do, because it's just a tool. And then drill a hole in a 2x4 and say, listen, how did that hole get there? And then have her answer it. And she'll say the drill bit and everything else. And just say, no, you needed the holes and the drill bit was just the tool that put it through it. And that's a bad example, but you see what I'm saying? Just teach them how to use tools. Money is no different than that drill bit. Money is no different than the shovel I used to dig that hole in the back that, to me, was the pond that I was going to catch fish from. That's it.
Well, it comes down to dreaming. I keep a book that I've written a lot of goals in. I got really, really, concise with it, and I found it. I reviewed it, and then in this little red book, it actually has EXP written on it. But I write a phrase down 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and dinner. And it's the same phrase over and over and over again. It has to pertain to money. And I was afraid of thinking about something this big. But my goal is to literally fill this entire book up, every single page, with exactly what I'm putting intentionally out there, because it's dreaming. It's something I'm putting into the universe. And once I get it and it's tangible, then I'm going to hire you as my personal financial advisor. And we're going to go 10X this bitch. But,
easy.
But it's something that, like, I think a lot of people are scared of thinking big, right? I know I was for a long period of time. I found something, I want you guys to all go research this, please. I found I guess a practice, right? It's called the Sedona method. So go research the Sedona method, and it's asking yourself 3 questions, and it will release negative energy off of you. So if you're listening to this and you're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make money like Chris. There's no money there. I don't deserve it, or whatever else. The Sedona method, you do this. You resonate with whatever your problem is. So let's say your money is an issue, right? So think about your money and the problems you're having with it. Then you ask yourself, here it goes, could I release it? Yes or no, binary answer. Then it's, would I release it? Asking yourself permission. And then you ask yourself the simple question, when? Yes, no answers on either of them. They'll release the energy out. And it's the only way I've ever been able to move past that fear of accomplishing things in my life. I'll just release the negative thoughts around it, because so many people keep I have negative thoughts around money. And so, like, that's why I'm preaching right now, is because it's something that's so relevant in my life. But I know we got to
love that. And let me go one step further. Let me just talk to you. Like, I hauled this thing up as a joke, right? The money problem. And, remember that comedian, here's your sign, stupid people. Well, this is kind of the same thing. I want you to think of the logic behind what I'm going to tell you. And I want you to visualize yourself doing this, because I'll tell you what, the scariest thing about what I'm about to say is there's going to be too many people that are like, yeah, I do that. How many people do you know that are every day they wake up, they know they got a bunch of credit card debt at the end of the month. They hate paying those credit cards. They got all this credit card debt over here and all these debts, right? But then every single day when they go to work, they're putting money into their 401k, or they're setting up these automatic, deposits into their savings account. Their savings account is always an emergency fund. And they just keep doing this, right? So they're saving for the retirement. And then over here, they've got their emergency fund. Yet over here, they've got literally the perpetual hole, which is their debts. And they think nothing of that. You see, I look at that and instantly I know how to solve that problem. I say, okay, this is very simple. I just did it this morning with they actually did really well. They're in the medical industry. They made a lot of money and they were this. And when I asked them, why are you doing this? They didn't know. I said, wait a second, hold on. That 401k you're putting money into, first off, you're maxing out your contributions because you're trying to get to this destination that you don't even know what it looks like. You don't even know what retirement is. If I ask you, what is your retirement? I don't know. It's not riding off in a sail, but they don't know. They're just putting money in because that's what they were told to do. They're conforming. I told them, I said, listen, you got all this debt over here and that's keeping you up at night. So that's the problem we need to solve. Let's go to your 401k. Let's back down the amount you're putting into your 401k. Let's ask your 401k provider, do they allow loans? The answer was yes. Great. So we're going to take a loan from your 401k. First answer was, yeah, but then I got to pay it back. Hang on a second. We're going to take a loan from your 401k, which you now do have to pay back every pay period, and you have to pay it back with interest. We're going to take that loan and we're going to pay off some of these credit card debts. Now, when we pay these credit cards debts off, you no longer need to mail checks to those credit cards. So we're going to take dollar for dollar exactly what you were given to the credit cards, what you're donating, and we're going to take that money and we're going to repay that money back to your 401k. In doing that, you literally just became the bank, and now you're paying yourself back with interest because the interest on the 401k goes back into your 401k. You didn't change anything. You just took money that was sitting there out of your control for some phantom day in the future, and you just took care of your today problem. But now let's get even stupider with this. I meet people every single day doing calls that have 10, 15, 30, 100,000 sitting in their savings account. Losing 3.2% every single year to inflation. And I ask them, what is this money for? An emergency. And then I say to them, okay, let's talk about your debts. And they've got all these debts, car payments, they got student loans, they've got credit cards. And I say, isn't that an emergency? Well, no, I mean, like if something happens and I need to put a roof on. Okay. We take the money from your savings account, which is losing. We pay off all these debts. We take the money you were paying the debts and we then redirect it automatically, bill pay, okay, into your savings account. It shouldn't go there, but that's what we tell them to do. You literally just moved money and you literally just took back the wealth that you were giving away. So now all of a sudden, these people today alone had an extra $2,400 every single month going into their savings that they were giving away. And it took changing one thing. And that was just getting them to understand that they need to change that one, move that money. I mean, how many people do you know that do this? It's sick.
Yeah.
It's sick. Like it just doesn't make any sense. If you're paying 20% in your credit cards, which would be probably low for most people, and all you did is you took back that money by taking money from this side and paying it off and moving it back over here, you just effectively made a 20% return on your money. Like it's stupid. Like think about that. Your 401k, is your 401k making 20%? Well, then do what I just said and you'll make 20% and you have zero risk. You're almost guaranteed to make 20% because it's money you were giving away. All you did is took it back.
That's really interesting. Crazy. I've heard you talk about that several times. And again,
because I can't understand why people don't understand this. Well, I have a hard time.
It's because our brains hurt after hearing this because, again, it's being conditioned consistently by every single ad, every single time I walk into the branch. Hi, welcome. We're FDIC insured. If anything happens to your money, it's guaranteed. But it's already guaranteed. It's already in this other account. I mean, you can't. No bank robber can go to your 401k and snatch your 401k with a gun and a mask. And given we all wear masks, we're all bank robbers now. But it's just interesting because it didn't make a lot of sense to me the first couple of times I heard it, and that's my own fault. But that makes total sense. So let's say like me, I don't have a 401k. I've been a real estate agent for 21 years. Since I came out of college, I've been a real estate agent. And before that, I was a douchebag college kid. So since I don't have shut up, Matt.
Well, the great part about being me on this show sometimes is I don't even have to say anything. You insult yourself. It makes my job much easier here. I mean, it's really what I come here to do, but sometimes you make it a little bit easier.
Okay, now shut up. So I don't have a 401k. Where do I pull this from? How do I do this then?
Where does your money go? I mean, you make money and that money has to go somewhere. Where does your money go that doesn't pay bills?
Bank.
Goes under his mattress.
Yeah, do you have like a strategy for that? Like, do you have like a systematic savings plan with your bank where you put X amount in or X amount of every, sale that you get paid a commission goes into, this bank?
I love how the derogatory little hit on that. This bank.
Oh, don't even get me warmed up.
Do you have like a plan with the thieves set up to like give them a certain set amount every month?
Are you complicit? Yeah, are you complicit?
Oh, they give you suckers, and the suckers always have a wrapper on them that says "dum dum." So welcome.
Oh my God.
True or true, right?
It's so true.
Every bank in the United States and even other countries have dum dum suckers, and I can't yet figure out whether they own dum dums or whether they're just trying to send us a signal.
Oh, they're sending us a subtle signal. Hey,
So you're the
God.
dum dum that's putting all your money in the bank, and it's okay. Because you're not doing anything wrong. It's just what you've been taught. But think about what you're doing there. You're giving the bank your money. And what do you think's happening then? Is your bank taking your dollars that you're depositing there, putting them back in your little box in the back with your name on it, so that when you come back, they're like, oh, let me go grab your box and I'll give you your money back. No, the bank is taking 10 cents of every dollar, setting that aside in reserves, and then taking the other 90 cents and then loaning it out while you're sitting there right behind you. There's someone sitting in one of those glass cubicles. The bank's lending that money out. And in doing this process of moving your money in and out, they're making 400 to 1,300% on your money.
That's it.
That usually gets people pretty pissed off. But you know what? It's okay. Like, don't get mad. Don't get mad at all, because they just learned how to do this, and you can learn how to do that too. And all you need to do is stop parking your money and just letting it sit like a stagnant pond and move that shit. Move that money.
You talked about a really interesting vehicle on how you could do that. You want to explain that for a hot second?
So, I mean, the biggest thing I do, and there's no secret behind this, is instead of using banks, I use mutually owned insurance companies. Why? Well, that's because that's what the Rockefellers did, the Rothschilds. That's what all the wealthy people throughout time, from Oprah to Warren Buffett, they all do the same damn thing. So if I'm not that smart, why wouldn't I just mimic what the wealthy do? Maybe they know something more than I do. So what do? Well, instead of using banks that don't pay me anything or pay me less than what I want to earn, I put my money through mutually owned insurance companies, big ones, like 168-year-old ones. And in doing this, through this specially designed and engineered whole life policy, that's right, I said it, whole life policy. Instantly, every single person listening is like, oh, life insurance. Here we go. He's trying to sell life insurance. Great. Get off the podcast. You're excluded. You're in timeout. Like, if that's how you think this works, then you are completely wrong, because you fall into the main thing. And here's your card. There's your card.
There's your problem.
So we're not talking about regular life insurance, but that's the vehicle that the wealthy have used to put money into mutually owned insurance companies. It's the only way, but they don't use it as life insurance. They use it as a banking system. So by putting your money over there, a couple of things happen. First off, you earn a guaranteed 4%. Now, I just want to be clear about this. This is not every whole life policy out there, and this is not every insurance company out there. This is very specialized. So don't go to your State Farm agent and say, hey, I heard of this podcast. I want to open one of those banking whole life things. He'll say, oh yeah, I can do that. And you will have an absolute piece of shit whole life policy, just like Dave Ramsey says. Okay. Anyway, these are different. I just want to be clear about that. When I deposit money into this specially designed and engineered whole life, this privatized banking policy, I'm making a guaranteed 4%. The insurance company literally gives me a stamped guarantee of 4%. Now, if you're not making 4% on your bank account, then maybe you should listen. But not only that, these are mutually owned companies, not publicly traded on the Wall Street or the stock market exchanges. They're mutuals. So what do they do every year? Well, they share in their profits, their surplus with us, the policyholders. So how much am I making on my money at the insurance company I'm talking about? 6.2%. So is your bank paying you 6.2? Are you comfortable making 6.2 where you're at? Is it guaranteed? I don't know, but I am. But here's the beauty. You see, I don't put my money there and leave it like we've been taught, and everything else. I don't just park it in this insurance policy and just say, okay, great. You just hang on to that. Hell no. I put it there, and I immediately, within 30 days, take that money out. And then what do I do with it? I move it. I loan it out at 12%. I buy real estate with it. I pay off debt with it. I pay for my wife's car. And instead of paying GM Financial or Porsche, I take that monthly payment and I pay it back to my policy. And when I make rent on my policies or on my real estate deals, what do? I take and charge my real estate company 6% interest, and my real estate company pays back my bank over here. You see, all I'm doing is I'm becoming the bank. And in becoming the bank, that means that there's 3 rules. Number 1, I'm always going to pay myself back with interest. Number 2, I'm always going to pay myself first. Okay. Change where the money goes first. And number 3, I'm going to recycle and recapture all of the money that I'm giving away. So all that means is if I pay off a credit card, I'm going to recapture the money that I was giving that credit card and put it back in my banking policy. The whole time this whole thing happened, When I put money in and I took money out, I never, ever stopped earning 6.2% or 4% plus the dividend. If you look at other years, 4% plus dividend on my money ever, as long as I live. For as long as I live, that money, even if I took it all out, will continually make 4% plus dividends. It's called uninterrupted compound interest.
Like, and to further that, I think so. I have a couple friends that actually sell this, and I want to say one thing about it, and I ask you a question. But the other thing is, like, I want to explain to you from a perspective of a guy on this side who's not in finances why that's scary. So one is when you're borrowing that money, if I'm not mistaken, that doesn't come out of your account. You still make that 4 and 6.2% on your balance, even though your money's out, right? So that compound interest on the money the numbers, it's not just a simple 6.2%. It's that minus the 27% you're not paying back to Capital One, minus like all these things together, right? But I think I've sat through this on multiple occasions from people that I trust. And like you said, there's only a couple companies in the country that do it. You got to really dig in and find it, right? I think it's too good to be true. That's
bingo. I love it.
Right? That's not what I think. I'm pretty in tune with some of this stuff, and I listen to the guys that make the money, right? Like the people that are around me that I look at and go, yeah, I want to have that dude's income. I'm listening. And that's what you said, like the Rockefellers, right? This is stuff, these are vehicles they've used. And then I listen to it and I go, I could never explain that to my wife, and I know she would think that's a scam. How do you talk to that?
Yeah, it's very easy. And that is the number one thing. Every single person that sees this, watches our video, almost all of them say this is too good to be true. And if it's too good to be true, then why has it been around for hundreds of years? Why is it that this has never changed? Why is it that this is the vehicle that's always been used? But okay, so maybe it does sound too good to be true that you can put money there, take that money back out and never stop earning interest. Maybe you just need to understand the two additional reasons why that's so easy to understand. First off, you put your money in this insurance company, okay? You deposit your money there. And the insurance company allows you to take some or all of that money out, and you don't stop earning interest. How does that work? It doesn't even make sense. It's because you're not taking your own money. The insurance company, from their general accounts, as a profit motive, lend you money from their general account. And then they take the money that's still in your account and use it as collateral. But what interest rate do they charge you on the money that they're lending you? Well, right now it's 5%. So if you're making 6.2 and you're earning 5, aren't you ahead by 1.2%? Well, you are. But then, now all of a sudden we've entered into this unknown area that scares people. It's called loans. If you take a loan from anywhere, what things come to your mind? What do you have to do when you take a loan?
Pay interest.
Okay. What else?
Pay fee.
Wait, what?
Well, you got to pay it back.
Interest, pay it back. That's what I was looking for.
You're committing to an increase in your monthly expenses. Basically, I think that's what scares people.
Well, that would scare me too. Now, so I'm borrowing. So I deposit my money there, and to get my money, I got to borrow it and take loans, and I don't want more debt. Great. Well, what if I told you that the insurance company will never, ever ask you for those loans back? Now, does that make you even kind of be like, this is altogether way too good to be true?
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So it's so easy. It's not. So the reason they don't care if you ever pay those loans back is because the second thing that we missed is that insurance company in that contract promised to pay a death benefit someday when you graduate. And I don't mean graduate from college. I mean the big graduation, the day you die. They've promised to pay your beneficiaries, whoever you list, a tax-free death benefit. So all the insurance company's doing is they're letting you use their money from their general account. And folks, they have plenty of it. You can't use it all, I promise you. They loan you that money from the general account. That money is secured because it's collateralized by your account balance, which is never stopped earning uninterrupted compound interest. But now that you've got this loan, the insurance company literally does a little mathematical thing on the screen and says, okay, we got a $100,000 loan from their policy. We're going to reduce the death benefit by $100,000. All you're doing is taking a loan from your death benefit. You're leveraging your death benefit while you're living. The insurance company could care less if you ever pay it back. Matter of fact, they'll never even ask you for it because that 5% they're charging you, that's a profit center for them. So that 5%, we can control that too by that recapture. Remember I said, if we use that money to pay, let's say we pay off our car loan, and whatever the money is we were paying our car loan, let's say it's $500 a month. What if we took the $500 a month and we just took it back over here and we repaid the loan to the insurance company? What's happening? Well, number one, the same exact dollars you were giving away before are now going back into your account. As you pay the loan down, your balance and use of your money comes back, and you pay the insurance company less and less and less interest because you're paying your loan back. Do you want to be the bank, or do you want to be slaves to all the other banks out there? It's that simple. So when people say to me, this sounds too good to be true, I say, I understand. When I first heard it, I said the same thing. And here's why it's not too good to be true, X, Y, and Z. It's so easy to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it and why this has been used for hundreds of years, and it's never, ever failed.
Yeah. And there's security in there. Like, I think for someone like me that looks at things that the government is doing and considers that there's a lot of insecurity there because the government seemingly changes the rules from day to day on what's allowed and what's not. That was one of the things when I first heard about this too. My first reaction was, great. Let's say it's not too good to be true, but it seems like it's an innovative way to use something. What if they just wipe out the ability to use it? And the retort to that is just that they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot because they want to use it too. So they're not going to change the rules for the rest of us because they want to be able to use it, right?
You nailed it. So why will the rules never change on this? Why, when the tax law, the IRS was created in 1913, why did this kind of just go right by and remain tax free? I forgot to tell everybody that every penny you make on that policy inside of it is all tax free. I forgot to mention that. So why is that way? Would you ever think that this is where all the wealthy people keep their money? And don't the wealthy people, aren't they the ones that kind of are in, I hate to say in politics, but the ones writing the laws, the ones controlling it, the ones lobbying, paying money to these? Listen, folks, it's all connected. You can hate on it as much as you want, but this will never change because this is where all their money's at. From McCain to Biden, I don't know about Trump, but probably I don't care what political stance you take. They're using this. I guarantee it.
Well, if Trump's using it, that automatically means it's the most terrible thing that's ever invented.
Correct,
it's going to burn the world down. And how dare you suggest it, Chris? How dare you?
Dumbass.
Yeah. Whether I like Biden or not, and I'm a self-employed individual, so you can figure out whether I like him or not. He uses it. So all of you Trump haters, who cares if Trump uses it? Even if he did, you'd hate it anyway. So Biden uses it.
Hey, there we go. It's a win then. Chris, I got a quick question for you on this one. Jake Wolf is watching us, and he is regarding the folks that own businesses. I'm curious to hear of Chris's opinion about utilizing LLCs in a way to shelter from the tax depreciating assets and grow wealth.
Absolutely. Like if you're not using entities to basically grow your wealth and control how much you pay the government in taxes, then I think you really need to read a couple of books and get a good CPA that will tell you have to do that, because the LLC provides protection, but the LLC is also the way that you're going to control what you pay in taxes. W-2 employees, like my clients this morning, they're in the medical field. They can't control their taxes. They get a check and their taxes get hit hard. The more they make, the more they pay in taxes. If you're running a business through your LLC or your entity, you control all of that. You can go out and buy more paper, more toilet paper. And by the way, toilet paper is a great investment right now. So I hear toilet paper. You can go out and buy more real estate. Let's just say, you're going to have a big tax hit because you made a bunch of money. Great. You know what you do? Buy a ton of real estate and put a ton of money into that real estate and then rent it. And guess what you just did is created a massive tax deduction, and you get to depreciate that whole son of a pup. And there's just so many ways that you can control your destiny when it comes to taxes by using LLCs or S Corps, C Corps, entities, trusts. I mean, there's a lot of different ways.
Dude, that's just, we're coming up on the end of this thing, but obviously, again, we did not even scratch the surface. Any other final questions before we wrap up? Because I know I'm hearing little pops all over the country and less people's brains exploding.
It's like the end of the first Kingsman movie. Just boom.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've witnessed firsthand. Like I'm talking to, the husband understands it or the wife understands it because they watched my video, but the other party doesn't. And then I get on a call with them and I'm drawing a circle and I show it to them with a circle. And all of a sudden I watch it on Zoom. There's like a pop, like you just said. And all of a sudden they get it. And they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't understand that. Because it is that simple, folks. If it's complicated, it's simply because you just haven't quite made that snap yet to understand what's going on here, because you're not doing anything different. You're not working harder, not working longer. You're not taking on any risk, and you're not giving up any control. You're changing one thing, and that's where your money goes first. Everything else remains exactly the same as what you're doing today.
So, this is a question that just popped in my brain. So we change where the money goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about my bank card? We don't need that anymore, but what about my...
Oh, sure you do. Sure you do.
So you still keep a little bit of cash in a bank, or how do you run that?
If there's 10 grand in my bank account, I get really pissed off at myself. But it's a game. It's like, oh, how did that happen? And then you just get it. You find a way to get it back into the banking policies. You're literally like, it's not about where the money's at. It's about how you move the money. That's all it is. Draw a circle and just figure out how to get money from the left side where it's making 4% plus dividend to the right side, and then from the right side, whatever you were giving up over there to everybody else, and then get that back over to the left side. Literally, if you play that little game with a circle, you will understand what's happening. We're just moving money the same way the bank does it with your deposits. The bank takes your deposit and very quickly figures out, who needs a loan? Who can I loan this money to and charge more? That's all you're trying to do. You see, what we do here and how I just explained this allows every single one of you to make not just money one time, you can make money twice. Let me go one final thing. I know we're at the end, but imagine like a stock, someone that's big into stocks or Forex. They love investing in the stock market. And they're like, I make more money doing this. And I say, okay, great. How about making money twice? Or a real estate investor, because sometimes they think that there's nothing better to make money. I say, great, keep doing what you're doing. I love it. You're making a ton of money. But what if I could show you how to make money twice doing the same thing you're doing right now? And all that is change that one thing. Put the money over here, take the money back out, put it in your real estate. Put the money over here, take the money back out, buy Apple, Tesla, whatever stocks you're buying. If you're making money on the stock market, now all of a sudden you're making money twice because your interest never stops. But the one thing about the interest on the left side is uninterrupted compound interest, by Albert Einstein's words, is the eighth wonder of the world, the most powerful thing in the financial universe. And those who understand it earn it. Those who don't pay it. I'll leave it with that.
Damn.
Love it.
Yeah, damn is right. That's a pretty good one. So let me ask one more thing. We take it out on this note if you want. I mean, obviously it's not my show, but I'm just curious. I have had a lot of conversations with some friends, some extremely wealthy and some not. But what's happened over the last 6 months has really changed people's perspective and trajectory and really their plans. I'm curious, Chris, as to if there's any, and whether you relate it to what we talk about for money, or if it's something that only you care about. Has one thing changed for you? Have you shifted your goals because of what's going on in the last couple months? Is there something new that you want? Maybe a new toy because you figured I'm dragging this out because I put you on the spot. Is there a new toy that you figured it's a terrible purchase, but I'm buying it anyway because we're not going to live forever? Anything like that that's happened in the last couple of months?
Yeah, a lot's happened, but it's not a toy. I mean, if I wanted a toy, I just found a way to get the toy. But I think the biggest thing that changed during this whole thing is kind of the other side of what you just said. I started dreaming bigger. So before I used to think, I want this. And now I'm just like, you know what? I want to go out there and I want to do much bigger things, and doing much bigger things takes way more money. So I stopped putting a cap on how much money I want to make. And I started saying, if I put a cap on the amount of money I make, I literally have quit myself, because once I hit to that point, I quit. So that's the biggest thing that changed. In light of this, I've just started thinking that anything is possible and I can do anything. Because if this is a hard time, then I need to help a lot of people. And in helping a lot of people, I'm helping myself. The Zig Ziglar thing is what did it for me. Help enough people get what they want, and you will get what you want. So like the things, the cars, the running out and buying the thing you want because you think tomorrow's going to end. Okay, well, you'll probably regret that. But going out there and helping other people get what they want first, then you will literally live the most fulfilled life if you just live that one message. And that's what I'm doing now. And that's because of COVID, man. Because of COVID.
Love it.
Interesting. Yeah, Gene, you got me thinking. Like I don't know that there's really anything that I've changed because of COVID. I want to start another podcast where I can talk about other things. That's about the main thing that's changed. There's
we talk about that. Yep.
Those are plans that I already had in place that I was very tempted and nearly sped things up and launched another podcast this year to start talking about some things. And that's going to be my thing next year, is when I have some things in place to where I can start talking openly about what I believe. I'm sure I'm going to piss a lot of people off, but that was the thing that COVID did for me. It was just like, nope, you're not allowed to sit on the sidelines anymore politically. You're going to have to take a stand one way or the other. And I know what stand I'm taking, and I'm going to start putting it out there. So that was the thing that changed for me in COVID.
I love that. I think it's amazing. I had a real good friend who's extremely successful, and they decided to buy a second house down the shore, and it was a big nut. And I knew that he was like stressing about it, but I said, and we were talking, and I actually wrote it down. I could show it to you in my book. we were on a call and he said, it just changed. And I started to think, what's my end game? And so I wrote down, what is my end game? Because I was like, my wife and I have always talked about getting rid of everything, moving down in the Center City, Philly, getting into one of those high rises on the 52nd floor and me riding a moped around the city while we grow old. It would just be really fun. That's what we were going to do. But now I'm not going into the city. They lost me. So I got to figure it out. And he asked me that question, what's your end game? And I was like, I actually have to reset. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to say, if I had that plan too, which I did think about doing that in San Diego, we've been very fortunate here that they haven't completely screwed the city up yet. But yeah, if that was my plan and like getting into a condo in Philadelphia, I'd be making alternate plans too. I think there are a lot of people like that. I mean, if you listen to, and I'm sure, Chris, you probably know some of them, if there's people in New York City, especially, there's people in California, all over California, Oregon, Washington, that are going, I got to get the F out of here. Like I was going to retire here. This is going to be my dream home. You know, you've got celebrities moving out of Hollywood that have lived there for 40 years that are moving outside the city, selling multi-million-dollar mansions. You've got U-Hauls lining up in New York City. They can't afford a U-Haul because they're having to outbid other people for it. It's strange times, but I think that's a very good question to ask ourselves, because if you had an end game that was dependent on things staying the same and just kind of cruising, that's unfortunately not an option.
It's interesting. That is very interesting. I like the standpoint you just said about taking a side. And I've struggled with that sometimes, because sometimes you're just trying not to be that one side or the other. And I should kick myself in the ass for not just being the person I need to be and actually just taking that stand myself. It doesn't matter what people say. I don't need any more friends, and I don't think any of us do. So who cares if people hate you?
Well, it's getting to the point where half the country is going to hate you anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
And a certain half of the country will hate you even just for refusing to take a stand publicly, which that was the thing that really...
I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah, there you go.
Stand taken.
I wrote myself.
Well, Chris, it's been nice knowing you. Gregory, shall we bring this to a close before we all start talking about who we're voting for?
Yes, let's not do that.
And we all get whisked away in dark panel vans.
Hey, who are those guys in black suits down there?
Yeah, exactly.
I just heard my door open.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I'm sure you already did it, but tell us again your podcast name and where they can find you and everything else.
Yeah. So the Real Estate Money School is the name of the podcast. It's been growing tremendously thanks to, Matt and a lot of effort. But if you want to learn more about this stuff you heard about today, because it's, kind of sparked an interest, go to chrisnaugle.com/resources. And on there are tons of training videos, all free. And you can learn about everything we talked about today. And on that same website is my podcast.
It is, guys, and I'm not just here to blow, air up Matt's skirt, Chris's skirt, but I do listen to the podcast, and it is legitimately good. Antonio said you have to watch this 5 times because your mind is blown. Guys, I've interviewed him at least, I think 4 times at least, and he said the same thing over and over. And I'm just starting to wrap my head around it. So please go get the podcast, go get the resources. I put the resources both in YouTube and in Facebook, so it's there, guys. Click the link. It is tremendously helpful information. And Chris is a nice guy. He'll probably take your call. Matt won't take your call. Don't call Matt. He's curmudgeon number 1.
No. That's right. And just to sum up and tie this back to the title of the podcast, because it's about how the rich get richer. They do. But once I think you mentioned it, Greg, like just wrapping your brain around it, it's a mindset. It's a mentality thing. And if you can get that part of it, you will be one of those ones that always continues to get richer and build wealth. Because that's the secret. That's why the rich get richer, is because they think about things differently. And that's what I love about what Chris has to say. And I hope people follow through and actually listen to this episode multiple times. Go listen to Chris's podcast. So you may not know this. Chris doesn't just interview people, by the way. Chris does episodes where he jumps on and talks about and goes deep on a topic for 5 to 10 minutes of something that's really, really useful and helpful. So make sure to check out those particular episodes, because that's where you really get into like the mindset stuff and not just having a chat with somebody else that's kind of doing these things, which are great too. But I wanted to point out that we don't do that much on Real Estate Uncensored. Do those shorter episodes where it's just one person, but make sure to go check out those episodes with Chris. So, okay. That being said, so first of all, Gene, you have not let us know where we should contact and connect with you yet. So what is that?
Listed like every other week. It's my website. I got a little widget on there, genevolpe.com. Get to that. Put your name in, your phone number, and your whatever, and let's schedule a call. It's pretty easy.
Yeah,
that's right. So basically there's a nice barrier between you and between the masses and Gene's calendar, which I like. It's very good. And then Greg, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you? Barrier free, I assume.
Barrier free, Matt. I believe in love and cherishing everyone around me. So shut up.
Yeah, you're a socialist with your time.
Shut up. Anywho, you two clowns. Guys, go ahead and just shoot me a call, 925-915-1978. Shoot me a text there. DM me on either Instagram or Facebook. Obviously, at Facebook, you're watching me, just Greg McDaniel. And then Instagram is Greg McDaniel, REU for Real Estate Uncensored. And hit me up there, follow me on everything, and let's have a conversation. So there it is. Matt, I need you to do a big thing. I need you to tell them about your pamphlet, aka book, and how good it is and where they can get a free copy. And then we got to put a bow on this bad boy.
Yes. Okay. So microfamousbook.com. That's the place to get the book. And then for the color, it actually works for both Gene and Chris because they both have the same brand colors, which is orange. So we're going to tie a nice orange bow upon this episode. Wrap it up, baby.
Okay, guys, we love you to pieces. Thank you for taking your time to hang out with us today. We truly cherish you. Give us a 5-star review on any podcasting app that you are listening to us on. And until next time, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.